Good day, everyone. We are here again for another lecture in the subject matter Juvenile Delinquency. No? I will be including this lecture in our channel since I think I do appreciate actually the subject matter Juvenile Delinquency and crime prevention from the old curriculum and to the new curriculum that we have today. Me myself have personal um, benediction with regards to the subject matter kasi especially we're in the field of criminology wherein ang pinaka main purpose natin is to study crime and with the hope of coming up with a solution on how can we be able to prevent the existence of criminality in our country. So even before um, I started teaching it, I'm already being fascinated with the subject matter juvenile delinquency since it's very much interesting to talk about the early stage of criminality. Kasi whether we admit it or not, it is really during the early period of the criminal life of a certain person where the causations and other factors may be observed and if proper intervention was conducted earlier then siguro hindi na siya magte-turn into criminals magte-turn into criminal sa paglaki niya. So I think the problem can be cited as early as during their juvenile days. So, if we can be able to figure out the different factors or the different signs that a certain person will become a criminal in the near future, then I think it's really it will impact the field of criminology and it will impact the peace and order of our country, of one nation, of one society, or of one society. Okay, so even all of those things, I don't want to be hypocrite with regards to the subject matter. Okay, ayokong sabihin na we cannot really excuse the juvenile themselves from committing the crime. Na if you have been if you have tried being a victim or being victimized by juveniles, no, yung mga alam mo na, yung mga kinocommit ng mga kabataan, if na-try mo ng na biktima ng halimbawa pambabato, paninira ng gamit, pagnanakaw, and so on. I don't want to be hypocrite with regards to that kasi me myself really hates those individuals who are committing it, 'di ba? Ikaw ba naman ang manakawan? Ikaw ba naman ang masiraan ng gamit? Tapos ang nanira lang yung mga walang magawang kabataan and so on. So, given that if you have you had experience already becoming a victim of a crime committed by juvenile, talagang meron ka ng biases. Like for example, me. Meron na akong biases that sometimes I want them to be punished. I want them to be treated badly because I want them to learn I want them to I want them to regret what they had committed. Yun nga. So that's the biases. I want to be open with regards to that. But however, it's not really all to be blamed to those juveniles. So yun yung gusto nating i-clarify ngayon. No, kasi baka katulad ko rin kayo na sometimes we really do want a form of punishment be implemented to them, be given to them so that they will learn. No? So that will really bring us to the topic no? Doon sa tinatawag ko na the egg and chicken of juvenile delinquency. Okay? So what am I pointing here? Now, if a child is delinquent, no? Kung delinquent ang isang bata, who do you think should be blamed? What is it, the child himself, or is it the parent who who are supposed to be guiding them on how to become a productive member of the community? So ito yung tanong eh. Sino nga ba talaga ang unang nagsisimula ng pagiging delinquente? Is it the parent, or is it the child himself? So I do hope that upon finishing this short lecture, we can be able to clarify or to have broader understanding with regards to the subject matter. Kasi mahirap nga, sabi ko, that we remain onto our biases, like for me. So if I'm going to stay on that principle, then I think I'm betraying my profession, I believe. Because criminology really is more on rehabilitative, reformation, and so on. So let us talk about juvenile delinquency, by the way. So how do we define juvenile delinquency? Ang juvenile delinquency simply is defined as the criminal acts committed by juveniles. Yung mga criminal acts na nakocommit ng mga juvenile natin are known as juvenile delinquency. Okay? Juveniles refers to a person below the age of majority. Na? Pag sinabi nating age of majority, sila yung mga nasa below 18 years old. So any crime committed by these persons, yung mga taong uh, nasa edad ng 18 pababa. Okay? Lahat ng crime na i-commit ng tao na nasa edad 18 pababa is considered as juvenile delinquency. Yung mga crimes na yan. So, why do you think they are changing the terms here? No, bakit hindi na lang nila sabihin na crime? Because, that's a crime. The crime din yan. However, the offender is a juvenile, no? Bata. So for the purpose of not to traumatize or not to label the child as criminal, as para hindi kumbaga ma-input sa awareness nila, sa consciousness nila that they had committed a crime, they wanted to adopt a new term that will refer to the offenses being committed by juveniles. Kasi nga, of course, pag tinawag ka ng criminal or tinawag ka ng, yes, you had committed a crime, then definitely that will impact your moral, that will impact your awareness on your behavior. No? So, pwedeng magkaroon yung negative effect doon sa paglaki ng bata. That's why they don't call it crime, but rather they call it juvenile delinquency. Okay? So, that is how we define juvenile delinquency. Now, let's talk about the contributing factors on juvenile delinquency. No? Actually, there are a lot of contributing factors of juvenile delinquency. Kung bakit nga ba nagkakaroon tayo ng juvenile delinquency. Ano-ano kaya yung mga possible reason? By the way, we can group the classification into 3, such as number 1, individual risk factor, number 2, family environment, and the last is the societal or environmental factor. So as you can see, there are just the 3 major factors that actually affects the existence of juvenile delinquency, and those are individual, risk factor, family environment, and we have the environmental factor. Now, what are considered as individual risk factor? So, yung mga individual risk factor na tinatawag, ito na yung kumbaga meron na mismo doon sa pagkatao nung bata. Such as for example, pinanganak yung isang tao na merong short temper. No? That's somewhat like a behavior. No? Kung meron siyang maiksing pasensya, madali siyang mairita, ano pa, madaling mag-init yung kanyang ulo, those are considered as individual risk factor. Kasi nga, kung meron ka ng mga ganong behavior or attitude, it will increase your likelihood to engage into juvenile delinquency. Meron tayong tinatawag na predisposing factors. The predisposing factors pertains to the internal propensities of a certain person, no, to be engaged into criminality. So, yung example natin kanina, meron kang maiksing pasensya. That's why madali kang mairita, madali kang maasar, madali kang mapikon, and so on. So, these predisposing factors na tinatawag natin will definitely increase your tendency and likelihood to engage or to be involved into an act that is considered as juvenile delinquency. No? Kesa doon sa mga tao na mahaba ang pasensya, no? Medyo relax lang sila despite being put into situation na nakakainit ng ulo and so on. So, yun yung mga tinatawag nating individual risk factor. Ano pa? Yung inability mo to delay gratification. Na? So, kumbaga, kung may gusto ka, gusto mo agad makuha mo, yun ba? Those are behavioral problems. Behavioral disorder that can be attributed to either genetic or to faulty childhood development. So, all of this are classified under individual risk factor. And all of this are increasing the chances, the likelihood of a certain person to be engaged into juvenile delinquency. No? Kumpara doon sa mga tao na merong normal behavior, no? Merong normal way of dealing with the society, yung ano lang ba, the average one. So if we're going to compare those individuals who has that predisposing factors, no, and we are going to compute the chances or the likelihood of that person to be engaged into criminality, mas mataas ang chance ng mga meron ng tinatawag nating predisposing factors. Another factors that affects or contributes to the development of juvenile delinquency is yung tinatawag nating family environment. No? The family is very important kasi the attitude, behavior, character of a certain person is first developed inside the family. No? Yung magiging ugali ng isang tao, lahat yan na-develop at na-impluensyahan ng family since they are the first immediate environment of the child while he is growing. So, kung ano yung nakikita niya inside the family, kung ano yung na-observe niya inside the family, that will play a big part of his development process. Na? So, kung meron yung tinatawag nating domestic violence, na may pang-aabuso inside the family, that will impact the behavior of the child while he is growing. No, kaya kung mapansin mo kung may mga batang lumaki sa mga pamilya lumaki sa parents na laging binubugbog ni nanay si tatay or di kaya si tatay si nanay, and there's likelihood, there's a high tendency and likelihood na yung bata ma-adapt niya rin yung ganung pag-uugali. which will be apparent kapag siya naman ngayon yung meron ng sariling pamilya. Or hindi naman kaya there is yung tinatawag nating low parental supervision, napapabayaan na yung mga anak, no? Kasi hindi masyadong nakafocus yung parents sa kanilang sa pag-aalaga sa kanila, no? And of course, that increase the chances na itong batang ito mapariwara kasi nagkukulang siya ng tinatawag nating parental supervision, which is very important. If broken home, no? Syempre pag broken home na naman, there's chances that magkaroon ng physical or emotional abuse dito. May pwedeng child neglect kasi nga hindi nabibigay yung mga attention na kailangan ng isang bata habang siya ay lumalaki. And also the absence of either one of the parents will definitely impact the development of the child and the character of the child while he is growing up. So what I want you to appreciate under the family environment is that the immediate environment of a certain child highly impact how he would behave and how he would develop himself as a child. So napakahalaga ng pamilya para sa isang bata kasi ito yung nagiging pundasyon ng kanyang paglaki, nagiging pundasyon ng kanyang pag-develop in terms of pag-uugali, no? Yung family is really the first we can consider it as a school where the character of the child is being developed. Kaya minsan may problema ang parents with regards to this kasi akala nila hayaan lang nila na lumaki yung bata and then bahala lang ton ang school, halimbawa sa elementary, teachers nila na sila na ang magturo ng magandang asal, which is wrong. Na? Kasi kung sabihin natin 1-year-old to 6 years old, na kasi 6 years old pa lang siya papasok sa educational system natin, kumbaga, masyado nang maraming natutunan yung bata na medyo mahirap nang baguhin at mahirap nang iayos kung yun yung mangyayari. So mali yung prinsipyo ng karamihan na parents na hindi nila tinuturuan ng magandang asal, magandang pag-uugali yung anak nila at iaasa na lang nila ito sa pagpasok ng bata sa eskwelahan, which is very wrong. Dapat nagsisimula ang pag-mold, no? ng pag-mold ng pag-uugali ng bata doon pa lang mismo sa loob ng bahay. Na kung saan i-reinforce na lang ito pagpasok nila sa paaralan. So ganun dapat yung pagpapalaki. We should appreciate the importance of family environment to the good development of a child. If we cannot provide a good family environment for the child, then definitely mag-expect na tayo that there will be some behavioral problem or social problem na pwede nating makita, ma-observe doon sa bata habang siya ay lumalaki. And then next, we have the societal or environmental factor. Ito na paglabas na ng bata sa kanyang sa kanyang family, dito na papasok yung tinatawag nating societal or environmental factor na kung saan nandyan ang gangs, nandyan ang media, nandyan yung mga socially accepted behavior. So, ang pag-uusapan na dito is yung environment, yung paligid ng bata outside his home, outside his family. Na, halimbawa, ano-ano yung mga kaugalihan dyan sa isang lugar na pwedeng makapekto sa paglaki ng isang bata. Such as, for example, lumaki yung isang bata sa lugar na parang okay lang yung magsuntukan, okay lang yung pagnanakaw, okay lang yung paggamit ng drugs, okay lang yung pag-aaway, and so on. So, ano pang ina-expect natin? Kaya nga meron yung tinatawag nating child at risk, yung mga batang nalalagay sa panganib na kung saan either sila ay nasa lugar na masasabi nating hindi kaaya-aya para sa paglaki ng isang bata or hindi naman kaya is sila ay napapaligiran ng mga pwedeng masabi nating temptasyon na pwedeng sumira sa paglaki ng bata ng maayos. Halimbawa, ang bahay nyo ay nakatayo sa paligid ng ah, bahay sugalan, bahay inuman, mga ganon. So, kung nandun nakatira ang isang bata or nandoon ang pamamahay nila malapit sa mga ganon na pwedeng makita, pwedeng maka-encounter ng bata habang siya ay lumalaki, we can consider that also as a risk already onto the part of the child. No, hindi na masasabi na natin na hindi healthy yung environment na yan para doon sa child. So halimbawa, isa pa ay yung mga bata na nakatira sa tawag doon sa sementeryo, yung mga squatter na ito, illegal settler I should say. So if yung family is considered as illegal settler, wala silang maayos na tirahan, wala silang sariling tirahan, tumitira lang sila kung saan-saan, halimbawa sa sementeryo, sa ilalim ng tulay, sa gilid ng bangketa, and so on. So, masasabi natin na hindi healthy environment yan para doon sa child. Kasi nga, ang buhay sa lansangan, syempre magulo yan, madumi, walang privacy, na kung minsan ito yung sumisira doon sa mga moral values o pwedeng makasira doon sa yung paglaki mismo ng bata na hindi niya kumbaga nafe-feel yung environment ng being in one family na dapat ay protektado kayo, secured kayo, and so on. So those factors are part of the environmental factors, no? Yung paligid na kung saan lumalaki yung isang bata. At dapat ang isang parent is maibigay niya din yung best niya para makapag-provide ng healthy environment doon sa bata if na kung talagang gusto niya na palakihin ng maayos yung isang bata. Kasi ang problema minsan, tama nga yung tinuturo mo, dinidisiplina mo ng tama yung bata, pero sa kanya namang paligid hindi nare-reinforce ito, kundi ang kabaliktaran naman ang kumbaga nakikita niya sa kanyang kapaligiran, sa inyong mga kapitbahay, and so on. So may tendency na mas makuha niya yung tinatawag nating norms, no? Yung social norms doon sa labas na nakikita niya at mas marami ang nakikita niya na yun ang ginagawa kesa doon sa tinuturo mo inside the family. Okay? So, those are some of the contributing factors on juvenile delinquency. No? Hindi natin masasabi na isa lang sa mga ito ay enough na mag-cause ng juvenile delinquency or delinquent behavior. Lagi kong sinasabi that under the study of criminology, walang iisang factor na pwedeng mag-cause ng isang phenomenon. Even if that's a crime or juvenile delinquency. No? Hindi kaya ng iisang factor lang yan. Most of the time, yung result like crime and delinquency is a product of different factors na nagko-combine together para mapalabas yung unfortunate result ng nanayan, like for example criminality or delinquency. Let us talk also about the three types of delinquency, no? Yung three classification of juvenile delinquent. Meron yung mga tinatawag nating environmental delinquent. Meron din yung tinatawag nating psychiatric delinquents. And meron din yung tinatawag nating emotionally maladjusted delinquents. Ano-ano ba yung pagkakaiba ng mga ito? Yung tinatawag nating environmental delinquent, from the word environmental itself, no? Or yun yung example natin kanina, yung mga delinquent na naimpluwensyahan mismo ng kanilang immediate surrounding. No? So, for example, yung isang bata na natutong mamalimos, mandukot, no, mang-snatch ng mga gamit, at yung gawaing yon ay nakikita niya lamang, kaya niya ginaya, na nakikita niya lamang sa kanyang paligid, na ginagawa ng mga tao sa kanyang paligid, which later on na-adapt niya, he will be considered as environmental delinquent. Kasi ang nag-impluwensya sa kanya, no, ang nagturo sa kanya na gumawa ng isang act na masasabi nating delinquency, is yung kanyang immediate environment. No? So, usually, ito yung mga tinatawag nating occasional law breaker na kung saan kinocommit lamang nila yung delinquency nila if time permits. Like for example, snatching. Gagawin lang nila yan during time na kung saan maraming pwedeng biktimahin. No? It's not really conducted in a daily basis, but rather they're looking at chances na kung saan pwede nilang gawin yung mga masamang gawain nila. Etong mga environmental delinquent ito, when it comes to remedy, ito yung mga pwede pa nating remedyohan actually. Kasi what causes them to commit the crime is the influences, yung mga examples na nakikita nila doon sa immediate surrounding nila. So, ang pwedeng gawin dito, ang pwede natin gawin dito is to remove them from that environment. Alisin natin sila doon sa mga lugar na pwedeng maka-impluwensya sa kanila na gumawa ng masama. At ilipat natin doon sa new environment na kayang ibigay yung kung ano talaga dapat ang kinakailangang ibigay para lumaki siya ng maayos. So, iyan yung isa sa nakikita nating remedy. Halimbawa, doon kasi sa tinitirhan niyang lugar, ganun ang nakagawian ng mga tao na kung saan is parang okay lang sa kanilang magnakaw, mang-snatch, no? Mamalimos, mga ganun. So, alisin lang natin siya doon sa environment na yan at mag-intervene lang tayo na kung saan ituro natin na mali yung pamamaraan ng mali yung ginagawang yan at pwede pa nating ma-save yung isang bata. Another classification of delinquents is yung tinatawag nating Psychiatric Delinquents. Ito naman yung mga merong mental problem or mental illness which causes them to commit juvenile delinquency. So, minsan, especially kung mga nasa poverty line, no? Yung family belongs to hindi naman mayaman na pamilya, no? Kumbaga nasa kahit isang tuka lang na pamilya, minsan yung mga anak nila are left undiagnosed. Meron na palang problemang, pwede natin sabing mental problem yung bata, walang kakayahan yung pamilya na ipa-check up, ipagamot yung bata, kaya't hindi nila nalalaman na yung bata pala ay nagsasuffer na ng tinatawag nating mental problem. And this mental problem sometimes causes yung tinatawag nating psychiatric delinquency, no? Which is nakakagawa ng masama yung isang bata dahil nga sa kanyang sakit na maire-relate natin into mental problem, no? Like for example, kleptomania. So having a kleptomaniac it's an illness, it's a mental illness. So akala lang ng mga ng parents siguro is talagang naimpluwensyahan na siya ng masama kahit nagnanakaw na siya, not knowing that that is actually a mental illness na pwede sanang maremedyohan if meron lang silang enough knowledge with regards to that, and siguro a little bit of money for the therapy, no? Na pwede pang makapagpabago doon sa behavior ng isang bata. Okay? So, that is under psychiatric delinquents. Yung mga afflicted with mental disease or mental disorder are considered as psychiatric delinquents. Of course, based on our laws, they cannot be held responsible for their actions. Meron naman yung tinatawag nating emotionally maladjusted delinquents. So ito naman yung mga nagsasuffer ng tinatawag nating behavioral disorder, no? Or psychological disorder. Halimbawa is depression, no? If the child is a depressive type of a person, no? Madali siyang ma-depress, and which causes him oftentimes to withdraw from the society, which appears na parang nagiging antisocial siya, no? um, this can be fixed, no? Pwede itong maayos if only knowledgeable nga yung parents with regards to this problem. Ano-ano pa, no? Yung mga pwede nating masabing unacceptable behavior na observe natin sa mga bata, that literally is hindi kasi siya nadadiagnose agad, and parang iniisip na lang ng parents or ng immediate family that yun talaga ang kanyang pag-uugali. So only if the parents or all of the parents are knowledgeable to the different types of mental problem or behavioral disorder, there's a tendency talaga na pwede nating masave yung bata from becoming a criminal in the near future. Kasi habang bata pa sila, mas madali kung maipaintindi sa kanila kung ano yung sitwasyon na pinagdadaanan nila, para maging aware sila on how are they going to deal with it, paano nila harapin yung problema na yan, no? For example, isabi nga natin we have kleptomania. Kung maagang naging aware yung bata na meron nga siyang ganong behavior, meron siyang ganong mental problem or mental illness, then there's a tendency na mabigyan siya ng appropriate treatment or therapy na pwedeng makapagpabago or makasalba sa kanya sa pagiging criminal. Okay? So, those are some of the different types of delinquencies according to the nature of their delinquent acts na tinatawag. Lastly, let's talk about the different approach that they're using in studying juvenile delinquency. Yung approaches na ginagamit nila is based on what they think is the reason kung bakit nagko-commit ng delinquency yung isang bata. So we have three of them. We have biogenic, we have psychogenic, and we have sociogenic. So pag sinabi nating biogenic, literally that they are looking into the different biological makeup of one person as the causes of delinquency. So ang tinitignan nila diyan is yung mga physical defects, no, which can be contributors to delinquency. Ano pa ba? Faulty genes, yung mga, alam mo niya, yung parang bad blood, no? Kung namamana ba ng mga tao yung pagiging kriminal, and so that's under the biogenic. What they're looking is the biological aspect of juvenile delinquency. Yung mga pwedeng ma-transfer through genes or ma-develop through yung tinatawag nating nature of human being, is yun yung kanilang focus, yun yung kanilang tinitignan, such as yun nga yung genetics na tinatawag natin. So baka kasi yung parents has criminal records, criminal histories, no? So nung nag-procreate sila, nung nag-reproduce sila, pwedeng na i-transfer yung mga data na yon mula sa parent papunta kay child, which is nagkaroon na rin siya ng kumbaga is predisposition in committing such act, no? So yun yung biological approach. Yung sunod naman na approach na ginagamit nila is yung tinatawag nating Psychogenic Approach, which is what they're looking into is the behavior of the child, no? Yung mga abnormal behavior na nabanggit natin in the first discussion na tinatawag natin. So they believe that juvenile delinquency can be attributed to these things. So marami tayong theories actually with regards to this, such as for example the id, superego, ego, principles of Sigmund Freud, the well-known psychologist. So that would go into this classification, yung psychogenic approach. Marami pa yan na pwede nating masabi na parte ng tinatawag nating psychogenic approach, kasi ang focus nila is on the behavior of the child. They don't care about the inherent capacity of the child to commit a crime, no, transferred through their genes, but they're focusing into the observable character behavior of a certain person. And lastly, we have the sociogenic. So pag sinabi nating sociogenic, I do hope that you understand the point already. What they're looking into is the different social factors as the causes of juvenile delinquency. So pinag-aaralan nila yung mga paligid, yung immediate surrounding ng bata, at yun yung tinitignan nila if is it suitable for the normal development of the child or not. So if not, then definitely they would be expecting that uh, a juvenile delinquent will raise from that area. Okay, so those are the different approach used in studying juvenile delinquency. Next topic for this is we will be talking about the different theories. Ang dami kasi nun, ang daming theories na naisali dito sa juvenile delinquency. Kasi sabi nga natin, theories on crime, theories on juvenile delinquency, much the same. Ang pinag-uusapan lang kasi natin dito, we are talking about a separate or specific subgroup, which is juveniles. Compared sa criminals that we are talking about any age bracket as long as they committed a crime. Ito kasi nakafocus lang sa mga juveniles. So we have a lot of theories that will be trying to discuss or explain the reason, different causation kung bakit nagko-commit or bakit nagkakaroon ng juvenile delinquency. And as well as we're going to be talking about the different form of abuse also that are being done or conducted or being subjected to different child, which often cause them to engage into criminality also. And lastly, we'll be talking about the different laws also in our country, Philippines, na that governs or protects the well-being of a child in terms or in against different form of abuse and against any form of advances. Okay, so I do hope you learned something from this very short lecture. Now we have a lot of topic next that will be uploaded relative to juvenile delinquency. So if you have question with regards to the things that we discussed, don't hesitate to ask them, and I will try to provide answer as soon as I can. So that's it for today, guys. See you on the next lecture.